Life has a mysterious way of teaching us lessons. Sometimes, it's not the wealthy, the powerful, or the influential who change destinies. Sometimes, it's the most unexpected soul, someone the world overlooks. The world often believes that influence flows only from the top, that power and money alone are the tools of transformation. Yet in truth, life often flips that belief upside down, proving that those with the least visible status may carry the greatest unseen strength. The poor girl in this story had no wealth, no luxuries, and no possessions the world would celebrate, but she carried something far more significant than all the riches that could be piled into a vault. Her life was a daily struggle. Each morning she rose with the sun, not to leisure or opportunity, but to toil. She wore the same shoes until the soles were thin, carried the same small bag with patched seams, and often walked through the streets unnoticed, as though she blended into the background of life. She didn't complain about her circumstances because she had learned long ago that complaining never filled an empty stomach, and it never lit a fire in the cold. Instead, she chose to see her poverty not as chains that held her down, but as lessons that sharpened her courage and deepened her heart. Though she lived in lack, her spirit overflowed. She had a sense of compassion that money could never buy, an instinct to protect others, even at her own cost. And it was this very instinct that would one day lead her to a moment that changed not only another person's fate, but also the way people understood the measure of greatness. On an ordinary day, when she could have easily stayed invisible as always, life presented her with a test. Her life stood on the edge of loss, a human being caught in a moment where seconds mattered and hesitation could mean death. She was small in stature, fragile by comparison, and she had no training, no special tools, nothing that would make her seem like the one destined to intervene. But she did not freeze. She did not turn away. She did not calculate risks or costs. She simply followed the call of her heart, and in that instant, she did what many would never have dared to attempt. Her actions were fueled not by the hope of reward, not by recognition, but by an unshakable belief that a life, any life, was worth saving. She stepped into danger, into the unknown, armed with nothing more than courage. And what happened in that moment was proof that true greatness is not about status, title, or wealth. It is about the raw, unpolished bravery that comes from within, the kind of bravery that does not ask if the world is watching, but moves because it is the right thing to do. The person she saved had everything that the world chases: wealth, success, influence, the kind of life that most people only dream of. Yet, in that moment of crisis, none of those things could provide salvation. Money could not stretch out a hand. Success could not pull someone from danger. Influence could not stop time or rewrite fate. But the hand of a poor girl, calloused and worn from labor, became the bridge between life and death. Imagine that contrast for a moment. A girl who had so little gave something immeasurable. She had no treasures to her name, but she gave her courage. She had no property to claim, but she gave her selflessness. She had no fame to amplify her story, but she gave her humanity without hesitation. And in doing so, she reminded the world that value is not found in possessions, but in the choices we make when it matters most. Her story is a mirror to all of us. It forces us to ask, what truly defines greatness? Is it how much we accumulate, or is it how much we give of ourselves? Is it the comfort we enjoy, or is it the sacrifices we are willing to make for others? The poor girl's example shatters the illusion that wealth is the highest achievement. Instead, it shows that the richest gift anyone can give is love expressed through action, courage lived out in the face of fear. When the story spread, people were astonished. Some could not believe that a girl who had walked through life unnoticed had saved someone whose name echoed in boardrooms and headlines. But that was the power of her act. It leveled the field of humanity. In that moment, the lines between rich and poor, powerful and powerless, dissolved. There was no hierarchy, no ladder of importance. There was only life, fragile and precious, and the girl who chose to protect it. Her story also teaches that courage is not dependent on circumstances. Too often people wait until they feel strong enough, rich enough, or important enough before they believe they can make an impact. But this girl had none of those things. She had no wealth, no authority, and yet she did more in one moment of bravery than many do with lifetimes of privilege. She had little in this world, no riches, no luxury, not even the security that many of us take for granted. She was poor, not just in money, but in opportunities. Yet, she was rich in something far more powerful: kindness, courage, and compassion. Each day was a quiet battle for her, but she never let hardship erase her humanity. Where others might have grown bitter from hunger or weary from carrying burdens heavier than their shoulders could hold, she carried herself with a strange, unshakable strength. Unshakable strength. It wasn't the strength of muscles or resources, but of spirit. A strength that comes only from those who have nothing left to lean on but their own heart. She had known struggle from the beginning. Life was never gentle with her, never offering comfort or ease. She wore second-hand clothes that bore the marks of years gone by, shoes that had been patched more times than she could count, and a smile that often tried to hide how much she endured. Yet, even when the world ignored her, she didn't ignore the world. She noticed people, their pain, their silent cries, their unspoken needs. She saw what others failed to see because she understood what it meant to feel invisible.
Poverty had not made her tenderness, not weakness.
It was a fire, burning quietly, waiting for its moment. She may have walked through life unnoticed, but she carried within her the kind of wealth that no amount of money could purchase. She had an instinct for compassion, a heart that would move her to act when others hesitated. And it was this heart, this unseen wealth, that would one day place her at the center of a story no one could have predicted. The day came suddenly, without warning, as life's greatest tests often do. A life stood in danger, hanging by a thread. It wasn't her life, but it could have been her choice to look away, to do nothing, to let fate take its course. After all, she had her own battles to fight. She had her own hunger, her own tiredness, her own struggles that weighed her down. It would have been easy to walk away. It would have been natural to say, "It's not my problem," but that is not who she was. In that moment, she didn't see wealth or status. She didn't measure the value of the life before her by possessions or achievements. She saw only another human being in need, in need, in need. And when she saw need, her heart responded. Without hesitation, she moved. She didn't stop to think of her limitations. She didn't calculate what she might lose or how she might suffer. She acted on instinct, on love, on courage that came from somewhere deep inside her soul. She risked herself not for recognition, not for praise, but because something inside her knew it was the right thing to do. She gave the only thing she had to give, her courage. And in that giving, she changed everything. The contrast was staggering. The life she saved belonged to someone who had everything the world runs after: money, influence, respect, success. Yet in that one critical moment, none of those things could help. Money cannot shield you from death. Power cannot rewrite destiny. Status cannot reach into the depths of danger and pull you free, but a poor girl's courage could, a poor girl's sacrifice could, a poor girl's heart could. It is a lesson the world often forgets. We are told that greatness belongs to the wealthy, that importance belongs to those with titles, that power is measured in possessions. But her story tears down that illusion. Greatness is not about what you own. It is about what you give when it matters most. Importance is not about how many know your name, but about whether you show up when no one else will. Power is not about control over others, but about the strength to choose selflessness over fear. Her act revealed a truth that should never be ignored. The most valuable things in life cannot be bought. Compassion cannot be purchased. Courage cannot be ordered. Humanity cannot be manufactured. These treasures live in the heart, and sometimes the poorest heart in the eyes of society is the richest in reality. Her story forces us to look at ourselves differently. How often do we walk past opportunities to make a difference because we think we don't have enough? How often do we believe the lie that we must first be successful before we can matter? That we must first acquire wealth before we can give? That we must first achieve recognition before we can act? She had none of those things, yet in one act of bravery, she gave more than all the riches in the world. She didn't wait for a better day. She didn't wait for more strength. She simply gave what she had in that moment, and it was enough. Her life before that day was quiet, almost invisible, invisible. She had been overlooked, underestimated, and forgotten by many. But in a single instant, she proved that value is not assigned by society. It is revealed in action.